So tonight we're going to bring up some leaders first, so I'm going to ask Kurt to come up here, and Kurt's going to share some of his testimony with you, so give it up for Kurt.
How you guys doing? All right. Some of you guys have heard my testimony before, so this will be the abbreviated, shorter version. I am from Riverside. I'm 42 years old. I know it's hard to believe, but I grew up in Riverside, pretty typical neighborhood, middle class. My dad was a police officer. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and like we had a pretty awesome life. We had a pool in the backyard and stuff like that. And then one day, and I have a little brother. His name's Doug, who actually just preached his first sermon ever this last weekend. So some of you guys that know him, he and his wife used to go to church here years ago. So super proud of him. So really just a normal family. Things were good. And my dad came to us one day when I was in third grade, and he said, "Mom's moving out." And I didn't even know there was problems. You know, when you're in third grade, you don't really, they never fought, they never yelled, they never screamed, they never did any of those things. And so my mom moved out, and then she moved back in, and then she moved back out. And so each time she moved out, it was very difficult. And some of you might know my mom now. She actually goes to church here. So that was BC, right? That was before Christ. So she moved out, and they ended up getting divorced, and that was really hard. But you get through it and you work through it. And we were doing sports, and we were staying busy and going to school and just doing the normal kid stuff. And then my dad met another lady that my aunt actually had introduced him to, and her name was Barbara, and she had 4 kids. And my dad ended up marrying her, and from that point on, my life was never the same. Sometimes blended families work really well, and if you're from a blended family, hopefully it's going well. Our blended family did not work, and it's still not working, and it's been almost 40 years. So her kids were, for the most part, were really bad. My dad was a police officer, so that caused a lot of tension in the house. They got into legal problems. They started doing drugs. My younger stepbrother was really the only one that didn't get in trouble. His name's Leaf, and pretty cool guy. He's a Christian now as well, and he married a Christian girl, and they have an awesome Christian family. My stepmom was a Jehovah's Witness, and she still is, and she's super weird. And so there's a lot of just tension, when they're around. Luckily they live in Colorado, so we don't see them all that often. But it was just kind of difficult, when you're growing up in a house where you actually fear that I could get beat up today. I had an older stepbrother who was 3 years older than me, and when I was 12, he was like 6'4", and I was like Gavin's size. And so we actually had fist fights within the house, just to protect yourself. I got hit with a cane. I got punched in the face. Just a lot of just crazy stuff. During the summer, summer was just pure chaos at our house. My dad would go to work, and my stepmom would go to work, and it was just us 6 kids at home, just running wild in the streets of Riverside. And I was trying to be good and stay out of trouble, which I did for the most part. So family life wasn't the best. I go stay with my mom on the weekends, and that was like vacation time, and it was fun, and we got to stay up late, and we got to eat good food. When you grow up in a house with a big family, you can't just go to the kitchen all the time because we wouldn't have any food left. So we had one snack a night, and I was constantly starving. I was an athlete, and I was trying to play sports, and I was always hungry. So I'd go to my mom's and just grub down for 2 days straight. I ended up playing baseball in high school. I got cut from my freshman team, which was devastating for me because sports was really all I had. I was a decent student. I was super shy like some of you guys. I would come to youth group, or I didn't go to youth group, but I'd show up to class, or I'd show up to an event where there's a bunch of kids, and I'd be the guy in the corner waiting for somebody to come talk to me. I was very much introverted, and when you're introverted, that's really hard because you want to be outgoing, but that's not who you are. And I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would ever stand on a stage and talk to people. So that's one of the things that God helped me out with. It was just kind of helped me come out of my shell a little bit, and which is weird because now I'm in sales. I talk to people all day long. So I ended up getting cut from the baseball team. That was really hard. I tried out again the next year, and I made it. And athletically, things kind of took off from there. I got recruited to go to Cal Baptist University, where I played baseball for 4 years, and that's where I met Christ. So I got on campus. I knew it was a Christian school. I had a little bit of knowledge of Jesus. I used to go to Catholic church with my babysitter because before my dad remarried, I had a babysitter that took care of us almost 24 hours a day. And we used to go to Catholic church. And so that was bizarre. I didn't really learn anything, but I did believe in God. She did share God with me, not necessarily the gospel, because Catholics don't always read the Bible. So I had a knowledge of God. I just didn't have a relationship. So I went to Cal Baptist, and the first week, a whole bunch of people were walking like they were leaving the campus. I'm like, where is everybody going? So I grabbed one of the other baseball players. I said, where's everybody going? He's like, they're going to chapel. I go, where's chapel? It's at Magnolia Avenue Baptist Church. It's right across the street. That's where chapel's at. So I'm like, do I have to go? He goes, yes, you have to go. It's required. This is a Christian college, dude. Oh, all right. So I went to chapel, and all the baseball players sat in the back, and all the basketball players sat in the back, and all the soccer players, and definitely the volleyball players sat in the back and screwed around. And we got in trouble for the first couple of weeks and realized, we better take this seriously. And so I was presented the gospel week after week after week after week for 4 years. And we went on a baseball retreat one year, and one of the former players came back, and he spoke to us, and he laid out the gospel. And I became a Christian that night. So growing up, I always felt like, I know that there is a God. I know that for sure. But I didn't have that relationship with him. And so the gospel was real simple. He said, Jesus loves you. Jesus died on the cross for you, and he wants to know you in an intimate way. And that was like the missing piece in my life. And I was just like, you know what? I've always felt like I have a good life for the most part. Yeah, some of it was hard. I'm a college baseball player. Like, things are going good. But there's something missing. And that missing piece was Jesus Christ. And so I became a Christian that night, and 4 other players became Christians that night. A guy that I played baseball with in high school became a Christian as well. He was a catcher, I was a pitcher. So we became Christians on the same night, and it was super powerful. It was one of those situations where we have 4 grown men, and we're like weeping in front of other baseball players, and it just was it was a very, very powerful evening. So much so that I was real fired up about being a Christian for about 2 weeks, and then I kind of went back to my old life and just lived the normal baseball player, dumb jock, college life that a lot of college people do. I partied, I drank a lot on the weekends. We weren't allowed to. I could actually lose my scholarship because I was at a Christian school. Cal Baptist is an awesome university. But week after week, I was going to chapel, and I was hanging around other Christian people. I did have some good Christian teammates that were speaking into my life, and some of the speakers I listened to, and some I wouldn't. So it took literally 5 years of chapels for me to kind of clue in. Then I met my wife, Stephanie. She's the crazy little blonde lady that you guys see running around, and she's a pastor's kid. So she was kind of crazy like I was, and we got together and decided, you know what, I'm tired of living this life. And we rededicated our lives to Christ. We ended up getting married, and now we have 2 awesome Christian kids. And we love serving at the Orchard. We've been part of the Orchard for, I don't even know how many years it's been, since before Maddie was 15, 16 years. So that's kind of my testimony. The testimony that I Maddie was asked to speak. And she said, Dad, number 1, I can't make it. Number 2, I don't have anything to talk about. Like, I've been a Christian my whole life. Like, what is my testimony? And to me, that is the testimony. I look at around the room at some of these guys who have been going to church their whole lives. I think of the Tolbertson kids. I think of Brooke and the Wilsons, who've been in this church when it was First Baptist when they were babies. And they've been serving, and they've been Christians their entire lives. To me, that's a better testimony than, being a former drug addict or a criminal or someone who was addicted to pornography and all this other stuff. I mean, the best testimony to me is like, I've been a Christian my whole life. I've loved Jesus every second of it, and I'm going to continue to do that and serve him. So I don't know where you guys are at. Some of you guys have grown up in the church. Some of you hopefully will not fall away from Christ. I pray that you don't. But it does happen. So, take the example of some of these guys who have served their entire lives. I mean, again, as I look around the room at some of the young people that were in our youth group, I always felt like, how can I be teaching these guys? They're better Christians than I am. They've been doing this longer than I have. They were serving at 10 years old, and they're still serving. So God has a huge plan for your life, you guys. I don't know what that plan is. Only God knows what it is, but he wants to use you for great things if you'll let him use you for great things. My brother had it tougher than I did because he was only 3 when my mom left. And when I went off to college, it was kind of him to fend for himself. So he's had longer anger issues than even I had. He did get into some trouble in high school. I didn't drink and do drugs in high school or anything like that. I never really got in any trouble at all. I was a pretty good kid, but my brother did get into some trouble. He was kind of a knucklehead. He went off to the Army, and it really helped him. And then he came back, and he met a Christian girl named Crystal, and they got married, and they have 2 kids that go to, they go to Christian school, and God's just changed him tremendously. And I just knew all along, I just tell him, I'm like, God's got a plan for you. Like, if you just let him use you, He's going to use you. Now he's a deacon in his church. He preached a sermon on Sunday, and it was awesome. He was super nervous, and he was shaking, but it was kind of cute in a way, And he delivered an awesome message that he was well prepared for, and I was just like, I cannot believe my brother's preaching a sermon right now. Like, he was such a dingbat when he was 18 years old. Like, I hate to use the word idiot, but he was an idiot, all right? And so it's really cool to see, like, when God takes someone, like, he wants to mold you guys into what he has planned for you, all right, if you just let him do that. So that's my testimony. That's my encouragement to you. God has a huge plan for your life. If you don't know him, then you get to know him, all right? You need to get to know him. If you're not sure if you're saved, then talk to one of the pastors, all right? But that's my testimony for now. Thanks.